Hello, I'm back reviewing Black Clover Volume 12. Okay, so this one, we do start getting more information about the magic stones, where the Witch Queen starts explaining what they really are, and I think who created them too, where the magic stones were used by a tribe of elves who lived in the Clover Kingdom centuries ago, and they amplified the magic of the people wearing them, and they were the only ones who were able to use them to their fullest extent, she said. And she had been using the stone to one of the stones as an earring, and she also seems to recognize Nero, because after the battle, Nero ends up sitting on her shoulder and tapping at the earring, and she just says this bird while kind of staring at Nero. And so far, the Witch Queen's name and age haven't been revealed yet, but since she seems to know quite a bit of information, I'm assuming she was somehow around when the elves were, or at least after they were wiped out by the humans. And she also starts explaining that the magic of the third eye that Fauna and Vita had was, I think, magic that the elves were able to use. And according to her, the demon that the first Wizard King fought was also summoned by the leader of the elves. But there isn't that much more information about what really happened back then yet, or why the leader even summoned the demon in the first place, or anything like that. And she also goes on to explain that the swords that Asta uses inherit the ruined remains of the magic swords used by the elf leader. And so I'm assuming that something must have happened in the centuries since then, that something about them changed, because they're still around, and they ended up inside a grimoire that was a 5-leaf clover. The Witch Queen also assumes that the Eye of the Midnight Sun are descended from the tribe, and she doesn't give that much more information about what's really going on. Oh, and she doesn't seem to know that much about the Eye of the Midnight Sun anyway. And so everyone starts to part ways, with the others, with Maus and Landros, end up going back to the Diamond Kingdom, with Maus having the puppet blood technique the witch used, sealed in a bottle, and he was gonna use it to control the king so that they can start remaking the Diamond Kingdom into a peaceful nation, he says. And Fan ends up staying with Fancel, Damina, and Mariella. And then the Witch Queen, she ends up telling Vanessa that she's able to come back whenever she wants. I don't know if this extends to all of the other witches who left, or just to Vanessa, because it was the witches could never leave the forest, or they would be considered traitors. So I don't know if Domina is also allowed to come back. They don't say. And so they all end up going back to the Black Bull's hideout, with everyone coming back. And the scene actually is kind of funny. Magna and Locke getting a power-up, Gray and Sami being covered in mushrooms, and Gray can't even transform into a main disguise. And this starts to lead into the Festival of Stars. What was it called? The Star Festival, where it's a yearly thing where everyone comes together, and the squads are ranked based on how many stars they get. And since their black balls are normally lost, they don't expect that much from the festival, but they just go to it anyway. Asta actually asks Fenrol to bring Kahono and Kaito there. And so there, I think it's the capital. And so they also got another potion from the Witch Queen, where it was the curse breaking blood filled cocoon spell. That's like the recovery one. And they end up healing Kaito's leg and Kahono's vocal cords. And I do kind of wish that they would show more of like this world's like fantastical prosthetics, because we see Kaito with like a prosthetic leg. Because they do mention that there are specific things that they like can't heal. Like I think it was in one of the volumes they were saying that like they can't like regrow limbs or something like that. So it'd be pretty cool to see more characters who have prosthetic arms or legs or hands or something. Because I think Kaito is so far the only one who has anything like that. So it would be pretty cool to kind of like expand on that, like having a character who uses like metal magic, like be able to create like metallic arms for people, or like wood magic or something like that to create prosthetics for people. And I do somewhat like Kaito in this, because Kahono ends up saying they're gonna have a double date in order to try and get Noelle to fight for Asta's like faction, I think it's supposed to be, because she knows that Noelle likes him. And I think she's trying to get her to like admit it or something. And throughout this, Kaito likes Noelle, so he ends up just showing up in the background doing like weird poses and trying to get her attention. But he doesn't seem to realize that she doesn't like him that way. They eventually find a little girl who's a commoner who lost her mom in the crowd. And once again, nobles are not shown to be particularly good people. Well, Noelle is like the only one who tries to help the little girl, whose name is Emma. The Asta, Kahono, and Kaito end up cheering her up. And it's like the nobles don't seem to have, I don't know, like any kind of remorse until they realize that Noelle's a royal. So I'm assuming that like there's like the king and then like the House of Silver kind of like below them in the hierarchy, I'm assuming. Because it looks like once they say that she's a royal from the House of Silver, everyone kind of looks like panicked at her being there. And then we end up getting like reintroduced to Solid Rosalie, the leader of the Blue Rose Knights. And I actually like, side note, like I like all of her outfits in this. You know, like her first dress we see her in. I like that one, and the one she gets just a little bit later from Seoul. And so Cecil is back up where she is being like harassed by another noble who tries to make her go with him, but she ends up like attacking him and telling him that she belongs to the House of Rosalie. So she's like another noble woman. And we do start getting some of her backstory, where she's kind of inspired by Sleeping Beauty, where she was cursed that when she turns 18, like the castle and the surrounding town will be caught in time. And so she ends up trying to break the curse by herself without like anyone's help. But the curse comes anyway, so the town starts getting like covered in thorns. And that's when once again, Yami just kind of busts into the room, and he was just apparently eating, it's in this translation, pasta soup. And he ends up telling her that I like tough girls, but you could ask people for help once in a while, and that she needs to, people she can count on to help her. And apparently that was how the curse broke. Apparently was to have your heart stolen by a man, which is what happened. She ended up, falling in love with him. I do like seeing more solid. She's kind of one of my favorite characters. I mean, she doesn't appear that often, but when she shows up, I think she's pretty well done. And we also get the introduction of Mario Leona. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Where she is the new captain of the Crimson Lion Kings, and also the older sister of Frigolion and Leopold. Where it seems like the Crimson Lion Kings are mostly run by the Vermilion family, it seems like. And I think it's supposed to be like the Crimson Lion Kings have strong ties to the Vermilion family, since both Frigolion and Leopold are in the squad, and then they get Mario Leona to become the captain, even though there's probably quite a few members in the squad who could have taken over, since she's not even a member of the squad, officially. It's sad that she just kind of, comes and goes into, the cities and stuff when she wants to, and that she spends most of her time in, the forests and, the strong magic regions to train, and, people barely see her. And we also get the new Purple Ogre's captain. We actually get a spread of all of the captains, and I don't know if it's just perspective or what, but Dorothy's so tiny compared to everyone else. I mean, Jack's a pretty tall guy, but Dorothy just looks so little compared to everyone else. I think she's supposed to be pretty short, but she barely comes up to Nocelle's shoulder. I think, and also Rail, Rail's the youngest captain, and she's looks like she barely comes up to his shoulder as well. And we don't get the Purple Ogre's captain's name. I think his name is Kaiser, and he doesn't speak that much in the story. It's when they're saying the ranks of the squad, he's just saying, well, there's no help for that. He doesn't seem to be mad that, the Purple Ogres are, 8th place. So far he seems like a pretty, chill guy. And we do see, a few characters that kind of, come back. At one point, the Black Bulls get 2nd place because of all of the stuff they've been doing. And people apparently don't believe them that they could get 2nd place, because I think they have 102 stars? Oh, 101, I was one off. And Rebecca, she was apparently in the city for work, because she works in restaurants. So I'm assuming she came there to work in some other restaurant to help out or something, or she got a new job, I don't know. And so she starts defending them, and I think this is the little girl from the capital invasion arc. Yeah. Over there that Asta ended up saving from Rades and his zombie wraith creatures. And the wizard can't start to tell everyone that, it wasn't a mistake or anything, and that they have a great new member. So everyone starts saying it's Asta. And I do kind of find it kind of funny that instead of Asta walking up, Yami just picks him up and just chucks him on stage without even any warning. He just walks up behind him, grabs him by the cloak, and just throws him 100 feet in the air. and he barely manages to stop until he gets out his broadsword. And Yuno's also on stage for being like the new up and rising member of the Golden Dawn. And the two of them start like fighting. Like I still do really like their relationship. Like it's just like really funny that the two of them are rivals, but they have like the best relationship. Like they're just being so like pretty sarcastic towards each other and like making jabs, but they're still like really good friends. Which I think it's kind of nice. Like they're both competing for the same thing, but they can still be friendly and good about it. Because sometimes I've seen like rival relationships in media where like the two of them just like hate each other so much. Like I mean, sometimes they can grow into friends. Like Sasuke and Naruto kind of did, where they started out as rivals, but I think they started to become friends with each other towards like as the series went on. So I do kind of like the fact that these guys started out as friends in the beginning anyway, and that they're still being friends even as rivals. But then Sasuke tries to like ruin the mood again by telling them that they're just peasants and Asta has no magic. And the like crowd seems to like flip flop back and forth a lot, and it seems like pretty easy. And tries to like prove how strong they are by like having Sil like power up his magic, I think it was, and throw it at Asta, who just barely manages to block it. Like he just sends like a huge attack at Asta, and it ends up proving to everyone just how powerful they are. And the Wizard King ends up like helping them out in a way by telling the crowd that has overcome differences in rank. And like everyone in the crowd respects the Wizard King highly, to the point where they all kind of like admit to themselves that they want him to be king once the actual king shows up. Because he is the king's is Augustus Kira Clover the 13th. I think that's what the Roman numerals are. Where he is just the worst. Like he is kind of like all of the nobles turned up to like 11. Well, like the nobles are like pretty bad, but he's just like the worst out of all of them. Like, he just ends up like screaming at everyone that he's the most important person in this country, that he is greater than the Wizard King. And then this kind of leads to everyone thinking, like, just watching him, everything's just kind of like quiet, and everyone's thinking, I wish the Wizard King was king. Because like the Wizard King is only ruling like the magic knights, and kind of like I think it's supposed to be like the military part of the country, where the actual king is just like the king of the whole country. Like I think they have equal power, but I don't know. The Wizard King just doesn't care about like anyone, it seems like. Where he keeps trying to take the glory from everyone else. Where he starts talking about how they found the hideout for the Eye of the Midnight Sun, and that he's the one who decided to form a group called the Royal Knights, even though I think it was Julius's idea to form the Royal Knights, but the king took it away from him because he wants to like take off all of that glory for himself before like the Wizard King can say it. But this only leads to Asta saying, why is the king doing the choosing? Kind of like saying, why isn't the Wizard King doing it? And that he's never heard the king of doing anything big before now. And then he asks Yuna, who also says, no, he's never heard the king do anything. And it only leads to him basically like panicking and getting so angry in public that he wants them executed immediately. and only take the Wizard King, like insulting him in public as well to try and get him to calm down, saying besides if you recklessly brandish your power over something like that, you'll make the king's authority look cheap. The king, he doesn't seem like he is pretty impulsive. Like he just doesn't seem to really understand anything, even though he's supposed to have been trained in this role. But the king really is like the worst out of all of the royals, nobles introduced so far. And it only goes to show, like, him standing next to Julius just goes to show why everybody wants Julius as the real king, and why everybody respects him more than the actual king, since Julius is apparently a lot better at doing his job and doing like everything better than the actual king. And then this starts to lead into the next little arc where Leona, she starts yelling at the rest of the Crimson Lion Kings for falling behind, and starts like insulting Frigolion, saying he's not fit to be captain, that she's mad that they've fallen so behind and this has never happened before, and that they need to do more than talking, that they need to like show how strong the Crimson Lion Kings are. And she ends up taking Asta, Yami, Solid, and Noelle, and Sol along with them, just because they all seem to be in the same area and she like saw them. She taking the hot spring, which is in the strong magic region. That's a volcano. And I like the fact that the strong magic regions all have like a variety to them, where the one that we went to first was underwater and had all of like the whirlpools and stuff. And this one is a massive volcano that also like the underwater magic region, like only like certain people have a chance to like survive it or like work with it, where it ends up being so hot that they can barely breathe. They're just unable to stand the heat. And then but Yami and Solid end up running ahead, and they don't seem to have that much of a problem. And then Leo realizes that they're wearing something called like mana skin, where it's like they're wearing like a protective layer of mana, he says, where it's able to like protect them from the environment and kind of like boost their magic, I think. And everyone keeps trying to do that in order to get ahead, and Yami starts to realize that Leona ended up bringing some other people along for like specific reasons. Like Solid, she uses like rose or like thorn magic, and because this is like a fire region, her magic isn't like as strong there. Like she has like a disadvantage because it's all fire, and she uses like similar to like plants. But if she's able to like do really well here, then she shows how it should be done. And like he's like the newest like hotshot here, and so he kind of like is there to kind of like raise the spirit of the younger guys. And I think she also brought Noelle there in order to try and like help her out with her magic, because they do know each other. Like this is the first time she's seen her in ages. And it also is revealed that she knew her mom, Issue. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And so she tries to encourage Noelle to get stronger, but Asta's like the only one, because she has no magic, who's having trouble. And so she ends up convincing him to not back down. And so he ends up trying to figure out how to get that one phone back that he had during the Forest of Witches. But he has no idea how he even did that, because the last time the Witch Queen was the one who like brought that phone on. So it wasn't him, and so he starts to use like key to figure out how to do it. And so he uses that, and he starts to kind of like see like the flow of the anti-magic in his sword, or like the magic of like the demon or something, or like the demonic energy, where he just says, I can feel my own ki inside me and some other blackish stuff that's flowing in from my sword. So he starts thinking that because it's from the sword, but only goes to like the upper part of his body, and so he starts thinking that if he can get it to like circulate through his body more, then maybe he can get that form again. And at least do kind of like the fact that he's like trying to figure it out, and at least like trying to put some thought into it, because at one point he's saying that he might throw himself into the magma in order to get that form, and then he realizes it's a stupid idea. And so it just spans like several panels of him like thinking and trying to put like the pieces together and trying to make up a plan, which I kind of like. Well, like, he may not be like the smartest character, but he is trying to like figure things out. But he ends up like getting it, and he like sails ahead of everyone. And so that it cuts over to the others fighting like a giant like lava monster. And so he ends up like cutting through it, I think mostly by accident, because he's like flying and can't stop. Like he like barely misses like hitting and it barely on a seesaws up at the top. Like I think probably like way ahead of everyone else, probably even before And so she starts like sucking in like magic, I think it was. And so it ends up like causing Asta to like get pulled towards her. And I do kind of like this, because it's actually so like how strong she is, because Leah also calls her like the undefeated lioness. What was like the entire name he gave her? It was the uncrowned undefeated lioness. And so when she starts doing that, well, Asta's trying to tell her to run, but she ends up saying no. And so she like leaps in the air, uses her magic to like, I think like sew up behind him, or just like her actual speed, and like just punches Asta in the face and knocks him into the nearby rocks, which ends up like breaking the spell. So it basically just shows like how much like physically stronger she is than like everyone else. And also, I've got to say that like this is the first time she shows up on screen, but I think it was her name actually gets mentioned. I think it was in like volume 3 or 4, where they had like a little family tree of the Vermilion family and like the Silva family. Her name is mentioned there first as being their older sister, but she never showed up until now. I also like her design. Like, she wears an outfit similar to like Leo's and Fergolion's. So yeah, I think that's about it. Like, except for like the stuff in the beginning with the Witch Queen, they get the thing where it was the Royal Knights. But so far, it just seemed to be the introduction of, like, Mereoleona. So yeah, I think this one was good. Like, I do like Solid, so I was kind of happy we got, like, her backstory and some stuff with her. And also, like, the actual introduction of the king, because he briefly showed up in like volumes like 4 something, but I think it was only his voice who was doing the capital invasion. But this is where he shows up in like person. And like I said, I do like the fact that they're showing more strong magic regions and kind of like the variety with them. I also wonder if they do more with the ranking system, because so far it only seems like they get the start and they get ranked, but it doesn't seem like they get anything from it. Or is it just depending on the rank they get more jobs in? Maybe, I don't know. Like they don't explain too much about the whole like ranking system if there's more to it. I also do kind of funny that Johnny just ends up being at random places and then just busting through the walls of people and ends up like giving them speeches and helping them out in some way. Like he was just at the city with shouted leaves just having soup as like her curse starts breaking, and he just ended up like helping her out almost by accident. Like it was sort of the same thing with like Vanessa, where he was at the Forest of Witches. Well, I think he was on the border to like train or something, and he someone ended up like in the forest where the Witch Queen was like trying to fight him, and he busted into the wall of Vanessa's room, damaged the cage, and like convinced her to like make her own destiny. Like I think Mario Leona was done pretty well, and also kind of showing like how different she is from like Freddy Golion, because he was like a pretty calm guy, where she's just like yelling at everyone. And it's kind of funny that when she first starts grabbing people, which just seems kind of random, she just creates like lion paws to grab everyone. And so before the hatch sprint, she just has like everyone like hovering around her. So I think that was kind of funny. But yeah, I think that's everything so far. Peace.